Welcome to US Tsuji 360. I'm your host, Vash Adderson, and I'm here at the UN Plaza at the opening session to the 58th Annual CSW Conference, or the Commission on the Status of Women. This year, it brings together delegates from over 180 nations and territories and over 80 member NGOs for a total of 2 weeks. They'll tackle this year's goal, gauging the roadblocks and successes for women in achieving the Millennium Development Goals. But what are those goals, also known as the MDGs? They form an 8-point plan that outlines specific targets in the areas of poverty, education, gender equality, and so much more. So over the next 2 weeks, representatives from around the world will put the MDGs under the microscope. So come with me as we see diplomacy in action at this year's CSW. I am now with the chair of this year's CSW, His Excellency Liran Kavaktulan. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, what is the scope of this year's CSW?
In this particular session, the theme is really to assess the achievements and the challenges in the implementation of MDGs, the Millennium Developing Goals. There are two other, shall we say, important concerns of the CSW 58. And this is reviewing what was agreed in 2011, and this relates to accountability with respect to achieving the objectives relating to girls' education and technology and all that. And the second is in the emerging issue, which is relating to access to productive capacities or productive resources.
And can you tell me about how much blood, sweat, and tears goes into putting the whole conference together? Because you have so many delegates, so many NGOs and other participants over here for the next 2 weeks.
You have to prepare early and really put in motions already the whole range of discussion and preparation, not just countries, not just member states, but even regionals, and even here. And this involves all stakeholders, the mobilization of the civil society, because it is very important that everyone is really involved as much as possible, because the issue of gender equality is really important in just everywhere and every topic and every issue, and that's why it's very important to mobilize all.
Every year the CSW is held here in New York. So what about New York City makes this the prime location for the CSW?
That's hard for me to answer, maybe my wife, but you see, New York being, of course, I will say, the center of many things. You have all delegations here. You can name any part or any post, diplomatic post. There would be some countries not represented there. But in New York, everybody is there as a member.
What do you hope will happen over the next 2 weeks?
Well, we hope to achieve a well-crafted, agreed conclusion that will be faithful to the priority theme of this session. So this will be the focus, while at the same time, already setting the stage for what could be done in order to speed up and accelerate the implementation or the achievement of the Millennium Development Goals, which is already less than 2 years, already next year. And to set the stage for what can be contributed for the post-2015 development goals, or the so-called SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals.
Well, thank you very much and good luck in achieving those goals over the next 2 weeks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So now let's turn to a more creative side of the UN CSW. I'm here now at the Church Center as part of the Artisan Fair, part of the CSW. It's hosted and organized by the NGO Committee on the Status of Women, and you have over 15 booths of NGO members who are selling the goods that are made, where the proceeds, 100% of them, go directly to their organizations and help fund their efforts. So if you're curious to see what they're selling, let's take a look. So this is a doll that was made in Thailand, and if many of you are familiar with Snow White, here are the 7 dwarfs, and over here, Snow White becomes her evil stepmother. So you've got 3 in 1.
For one occasions, remember Imelda Marcos, we usually have it like this.
So ornate, and who makes these?
This is our Philippine national dress. Mostly wear this dress those who have the highest position in the government, like the First Lady. and we will mostly wear this during the party.
Well, with sleeves like this, I can imagine you'd have a very good time.
Yeah.
So these are bowls made from South Africa that are made of telephone wire. This one takes about 1 day of work. This one takes about 2. This one, 3. And these big ones over here, 5 days. All by hand. So right now, I'm here at the Tsuji booth at the Artisan Fair, and they're selling a number of their goods that they sell usually in the Jingsu bookstore and cafe. So here to tell me more about that is Jennifer.
So we have our soaps, we have our liquid soap, and we also have our cookies and our tea as well. All of these are actually made by our volunteers, or like our tea, they're taken care of on the tea plantation by our volunteers.
And how are sales going this morning?
I think they're going pretty well, actually. We've had a great number of people coming through.
So what I've got in my hand here is cotton rose. About how long does it take to make this rose?
To make the soap, it takes up to 8 weeks. We use a co-process system where it's traditionally 4 weeks long, but in order to lower the acidity of the lye that we put in to make the soap, it takes up to 8 weeks. It makes it gentler on the skin.
So let's go see something else.
This set for the table for put plate and eat, made by women in Cameroon.
Can you explain the design at all?
Yes, this used to be like money in my tradition. This design, they used to be like a coin.
So if you use this on your table, you'll be rich.
Yes, yes.
What is the difference between this kind of weave and this kind?
This is coming from our village, Bangulap in Cameroon, Western.
What is the name of this material?
Pie.
For these, the sun takes care of everything. If you get any kind of stain on this or this, you just have to wipe it off or add some water and wash a little bit, lay it out in the sun.
You put in water, you make
Just shake off the water, just as she showed us, and you're good. This is the stall for the Afghan Women's Fund, and they're selling all kinds of jewelry made with silver, ranging from bracelets, necklaces, rings, you name it. So let's have a look. Can you tell me about the goods that you're selling here?
Some of the stuff are made by the women that we teach and train. We open classes for them, they learn, and then they make stuff, then we sell some of them for them. The money will go back to our project in Afghanistan. We built schools, we have built 11 schools so far. We have done wells, clinics, literacy classes, vocational trainings, and giving school supplies, computers, solar system. We are a non-profit organization, 100% volunteer.
Everything you see here at the Artisan Fair is only a small piece of the pie here at the CSW. Rather, it's the panels that have been brought together by these NGOs that are really bringing the meat and potatoes to this conference. So let's go take a look at one of them now. I'm here at the panel for the CSW called The Power of Data, How Research Advances Social Change for Women and for Girls. And the panel here features 4 diverse women who are each presenting topics that touch on how data collection can help cause social change for women. The kind of data that the panelists each discuss here, as the panelists convey, are crucial in reaching every Millennium Development Goal, the theme of this year's CSW.
But I want you to talk about the issue of women's work and how do you make education relevant in school to the kind of opportunities women and girls or boys may have. They don't know how to retain jobs. They don't have negotiation skills to demand better, safe conditions in their workplace, to be free of harassment and all the issues that we know.
It's here that the speakers suggest that the solutions to global issues are complex, but so are the people they are intended to serve. How does this process begin? Let's find out from one of the voices here from the CSW. I'm here now with Dr. Priya Nanda, who's just from the panel that we just were at, and she's here to tell me a little bit about data methodology. So what were some of the key points you wanted to highlight at this morning's conference?
Basically, the panel was trying to make a case as to why it's important to have the kind of evidence on women's lives and girls' lives and social change that impacts women and girls. and the fact that there is actually quite a dearth of evidence, and there is a recognition that we do need new critical data to allow foundations, governments, donors to make the investments that are necessary and to really evolve and have much more nuanced strategies that can really impact and bring about social change. And the panel was really talking about both making the case for data, making the case for building more alliances with organizations that have traditionally not been doing research, and also talking about the complexities of what this data is and how do you really measure social change.
So, of course, many of the NGOs rely solely on donations. So, of course, what kind of information would you say that donors are looking for specifically?
You know, we already know that we need to invest in women's and girls' programs. I think donors need to know what are the best strategies, where should we invest, how do we know what we are investing in is really bringing about a success and impact. And our role is to really help them refine and understand what success is, but also bring out the fact that success is not linear and it's not unidirectional and it's not easy to measure social change. That, you know, you might be able to capture data in a few indicators, but it still invisibilizes a lot of complexity of change in women's lives. So that on one hand, you may be able to improve and impact certain indicators, but on the other hand, there might be certain things that don't shift so easily, especially when we talk about issues around women's empowerment, gender-based violence. So I think while donors are interested in looking at specific indicators and specific stories of impact, our role is to kind of both provide that evidence but also provide the nuances and the complexities around that evidence. The other thing is that the big challenge is the time frame. Often funding is for 2 to 3 years, but social change, as you know, doesn't happen in such a short period of time. So it's also kind of advocating for more longitudinal studies, for programs and for data systems that allow more long-term measurement rather than short-term measurement. But then if you do have short-term measurement and short-term indicators, what are the best ways and what are the best indicators that will measure that if you've achieved this in the short term, the possibility of achieving long-term impact is there.
And how can one practically go about perhaps teaching or instructing certain NGOs that are not analyzing or looking at any kind of data?
The idea is not to empower them to start doing it themselves, but to really bring through donor alliances, through funding, the much more effective partnerships between those who know how to do the research and those who need it and need to understand what this research means to them. So I think the issue is of translating the research and evidence to our grassroots partners rather than having built capacity of everybody to go and collect data, because obviously this is also a very specialized role. So I think it's more in terms of learning to connect and understanding what they're doing and how it can be put into a measurement frame and what are some of the things they can set up as programs so that it really helps the researchers understand the impact of the program.
So ultimately, what contribution can the data collection and methodology bring to improving things for women and girls?
We need the evidence to make the case for much more investment. I think what we're investing is still a drop in the ocean. And lastly, I think the role of data is also to advocate for more effective programs and policies, to really bring out the complexity that certain things are not getting enough attention. And therefore, we need more investment. For example, while girls might be going to school, is it enough that they go to school, or do we really want to understand what is the learning environment? Are they safe in schools? And what is this kind of schooling really doing to their agency and voice? So really kind of pushing the envelope on what else we need other than just getting some of the initial success parameters as proof points out there.
Well, best of luck in achieving more success with even larger parameters.
Thank you very much.
And now let's have a look at another part of the conference where girls are the ones voicing their opinions here at the CSW. Tzu Chi has made its presence known here in New York, just as in the UN's previous conferences. Always present as part of the international team, Deborah Boudreau has made sure to support and help guide Tzu Chi's engagement in the Western Hemisphere. These included trips to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, where the Tsuji team introduced the concept of the 80-20 diet. Most recently, Deborah also participated in the UN's Framework Convention on Climate Change in Warsaw, Poland in 2013. At this year's CSW, she comes as a supporter of Tsuji, but also as one of its ambassadors. I'm very, very pleased to be joined by the Executive Vice President of the Tsuji Foundation here in the U.S., Deborah Boudreau. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you with us.
Same here, same here.
So the last time we saw you with 360, you were in Poland for the UN's Conference on Climate Change. And now you're here for the UN CSW. What about this particular conference, because the UN has, of course, so many, that is important that Tsuji join?
CSW is very important. CSW means Commission of the Woman, Commission Status of the Woman. And Tsuji, Master Zheng Yan, formed the committee in 1966. We are grassroots. We started from 30 housewives. It is a very symbolic, historical movement. That's the mission driven to bring me continue. This is my 5th year to come back.
You are one of the people in Tsuji who meet with organizations of all kinds, and you participate particularly with the UN's events, like I mentioned before. How can you present Tsuji's ideals to the rest of the world in this way?
CSW has a very nice environment to set it up. There's so many different caucus, like Asian caucus, Latin American caucus, African caucus. Tsuji, we have so many programs around 5 continents. It is the best time for us to be here to voice out what we are doing. When I say voice out, it's we try to share what currently we have done or we are planning to do in those areas. So through the caucus, we can share master's teaching. We can spread the seeds of love.
Being one of the female decision makers of our organization, what does the CSW mean to you?
CSW in general maybe is very strong advocacy environment, but they open the door for your participation. So as a woman, especially as a leadership position, we need to be working, collaborate with various agency women around the globe to share the same mission, to share the same care and love.
And what do you also feel are some of the major challenges that are faced by some of the volunteers of the Tsuji Foundation?
That is a very good question. You know, through the caucus, I remember the first year when I joined the caucus, I don't know how to express myself. And I'm kind of timid because we have cultural barrier, we have language barrier. But now more and more and more every year, I will never shy to voice out. So same like even me has a lot of opportunity to interact with various country representatives, need times and courage to speak it out. So this kind of platform is a very good resources for us, one way to improve ourselves and build it up our capacity to collaborate with other agencies. The other way is also for us to invite people to know who we are and how we can become partners.
And as a female leader here, what do you hope to inspire through the participation in the CSW?
CSW can expand your personal horizons. A lot of time through the communication, through the daily caucus, you set a goal. You have a goal, you have a mission, and you join as the process goal. And when you do the process, the final day, the last day, you have to present the team consensus. The team consensus is available, then we have to present a written statement to the United Nations, to the UN Women. And then you have a place to show your team efforts, the outcome. And those outcomes can be valid through the UN body and then can become a written statement. And you can see the execution plan. So you can see from A to Z, you participate the process within 2 weeks and you build it up the team capacity. We don't know who we are. We don't know who coming from various caucus, but everybody have the same mind and heart. We need to deliver our message. Our voices need to be heard. and we need to be part of the process. That's the beauty.
So this year, how does Tzu Chi plan to contribute to the theme of this year's panel, the Millennium Development Goals?
This year, we focus for several areas. We touch about health, we touch about education, we touch about food, we touch about waters. The subject is life of the hope. In the UN CSW 58, the main subject is woman and girl shape the future. This time, we have a very strong breakthrough, never happened before, is we're going to have a live teleconferencing with Philippines. 2 Philippine sisters, they cannot get a visa on time. So we don't want to give up the opportunity. So we're going to set it up a video conferencing, even though in here they have no political background, they have no government capacity, but we open the door. We reduce the capacity for time zone, geographic, space. They can be part of the system. This is the best way to present women and girls to shape the futures. So we overcome a lot of challenge, and that's the direction. That's the way we want to bring everybody have equal right. Equal right to share master's teaching. Equal right to share. After you share your compassion, you change your life. You change your friendship. You change your environment. So that's the opportunity to present it today.
Well, good luck in overcoming all of the challenges here at CSW.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh no, Kanan.
And thank you to everybody.
And now let's head over to the march. I'm here at the March in March as part of the CSW. It's organized also by the NGO Committee on the Status of Women, and it features participants from delegations and also NGOs that are part of this conference. It starts here at the UN Plaza, and it goes around the block across 42nd Street back to Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza. And it was Dag Hammarskjöld, who was the UN Secretary General previously himself, who had said, everything will be all right. When people stop thinking of UN as a weird Picasso abstraction and see it as a drawing that they made themselves.
We're not victims, we are agents of change. There's over 2.5 billion people without adequate sources of water on this planet, and we need to have women empowered to take care of that problem.
And every woman deserves justice, equality, rights and access to all, to the women.
So it's here at this year's CSW that women are making the change that they want to see, and they are presenting the ideas that they want to propose to the rest of the world. And next week, we'll see how Tzu Chi has made its splash here at the UN CSW. And I'm Dilber Shatterson, and I'll see you soon.